All right, my friends. I just pressed the Let's Go Live button, which means we got to wait for the stream to fire up all across the fruited plain of the interwebs. Before we go ahead and get started, got to make sure those tubes have connected themselves. Sometimes they do not, and that means your boy's rambling off here into oblivion. But it looks like YouTube as well. That's great. What's up, Telegram? That came online. Locals is fired up. Rumble is right behind it. That's tremendous news, my friends. That means we can go ahead and get started. So let's do it, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney, and today we're talking about the Biden crime family and the fact that they're starting to crack. We've got a little bit of a play on words there. What'd you think? All right, so they are definitely cracking. They've got a lot of testimony that occurred today in trial. Hunter's exes came in and testified, and so we'll hear a little bit about that. We got a great show planned because as we go through all of this, we're going to be joined by our friend Garrett Ziegler. We know who he is, this gentleman right here, the author of the report on the Biden laptop, seen here, featured prominently, available at MarcoPoloUSA.org, link down in the description below. But check that out. He's going to be joining us, and we're going to be going through this. He is our resident expert on the Biden crime family, and he's done a lot of research and due diligence on this. And so he is there in Delaware, bringing us the goods. So we'll talk about what's happening in the trial, and we'll see where this conversation goes. But Hunter's exes were there. They were testifying today. Here's one of them, and we'll see what they said. Hunter was there. We got some video of him arriving. Jill Biden also arrived there. This is her third day in court, and I think I have maybe the same video there. But she was there. We also had Karine Jean-Pierre, who was on the gaggle aboard Air Force One, gaggling with the rest of the reporters talking about this. So we'll see if that comes up. But we got a bunch of questions for Garrett. You can see he's there. Here are a couple of things that I had just jotted down that maybe we can get into. Asking questions about, first of all, Garrett Ziegler was under attack. We talked about that on the show yesterday, so we got to start there. But questions about the scene in the court, why it's so difficult to report out of there. The judge's demeanor, Mary Ellen Norica. We've got different impressions of the jury, potentially talking about the charges and whether this makes sense in the context of everything else that Garrett knows about Hunter and the Biden crime family. Consequences of this laptop admission. And of course, Garrett himself is on the receiving end of some lawfare. And so we'll ask him about that. And we want to support him and his work. So we'll dig into that. Now, some other things that we learned from the testimony today is that Hunter Biden's laptop is in fact real. We already knew that a long time ago, back during 2020. Remember, they said it was Russian disinformation. In fact, they lied to us about that. We had people like Michael Morell from the CIA, I think that's his name, Morell, along with Anthony Blinken, who concocted a scheme to write a letter with 51 ex-CIA officials to lie to all of us to say it was Russian collusion, it was Russian disinformation, and so on. And now we know it's real. In fact, the reporter for Breitbart over there called Wendell Husibo was confirming this. And we're waiting for the official transcripts and everything to drop on this. But we'll see if Garrett has any input on what happened there and whether, in fact, this has been confirmed. Because the other story from their side is that maybe the laptop was real and that there was some data on it, but the chain of custody was problematic. So in other words, once it left the MacBook repair store, or once it left Hunter's possession, somebody at the MacBook repair store or elsewhere manipulated the data, manipulated the files, then passed it off to Rudy, and then Rudy was spreading it around. And at that stage, it was in fact Russian disinformation is the allegation. Now there's really no evidence of that at all. What we see instead is the opposite, and the FBI agent testifies accordingly. So we'll dig into that. We've also got couple of clips. We'll see if we get into these. But Biden's debate lie Remember when he came out and he said, when he could talk a little bit better, he told us that this was, in fact, Russian disinformation, and the Republicans were trying to pull one over on us. So we got that. Dan Goldman having a hard day. Now that we know this is actually true, Goldman basically staked a huge part of his reputation on this to say that the election was fake. It turns out he was wrong again, or he's just a liar. So we've got that. Scott Perry was out with some statements ripping into the Biden family corruption. A bunch of senators are out there talking about Biden's lawfare. And so what we've been seeing is while they're dealing with their own criminality, what you want to do is make sure your opponent is dealing with your own type of misfortunes. So if Joe Biden has a crime-ridden family, he's going to say, well, how about we just make Trump's family look like they're crime-ridden and we just manufacture crimes for them? And so that's essentially what's happening. We're watching both sides of this equation unfold here on this channel, and we are going to cover it here today. Lastly, the big update, the big story was about Hunter Biden being in even more trouble because Congress has now sent out a criminal referral to Merrick Garland and to David Weiss. And they're saying, look, Hunter is a liar. He perjured himself. He made false statements to Congress when he was under oath. He was testifying and he lied. And as we know, false anything is criminal. Multiple felonies are justified anytime there's a false statement. Trump just got indicted and convicted for 34 false business records. So if Hunter made a false statement to Congress, whoa, I don't know what the penalty is for that. Probably life in prison is what it should be. So we'll see what's cooking on the show today. And we're grateful that you are here and with us, my friends. As I mentioned, we're going to have our friend Garrett Ziegler joining us here in a bit. And so his link is down in the description below, but you can also find him at MarcoPoloUSA.org. And so let me just share this with you so you know what we're looking at. When you go there, this is where you can sign up for his Substack, and it looks just like this. Marco Polo USA, sign up for the Substack, and then you'll get access to the latest news, including the report on the Biden laptop. So you can check that out. Report on the Biden laptop is there, MarcoPoloUSA.org. And that is some of what we'll be referencing today with Garrett. You can see that is the same book up here. And I have another hard copy over there. So we are going to get into all of that. Now, before we do, reminder, we've got our Vegas Watcher meetup coming up on June 29th, 2024. That's this year. We're going to Trump Hotel. We're going to meet up. Friends and fam of the show, come and join us. You can grab your ticket for the lunch and for the meetup. It is at watcherlodge.com. Check the calendar. Come and join us. It's going to be great. We just finished signing all the paperwork and making the deposit, and it's going to be great. We're, 2 days after the debate on a Saturday, Trump Hotel Vegas. It's going to be great. So come join us. watcherlodge.com is where you can sign up, become a member, and then come and get the pass. So you can join us for the lunch. All right. And so we are going to jump into the programming, my friends, and we'll see when we have Garrett join us. But here is what happened today. Hunter Biden's exes testified against him in court. They're in trial. And look who showed up. This was just one woman of others who were on the stand telling the jurors that Hunter kind of is or was a crackhead during the time that he bought that gun. And so we'll go through some of the trial updates and see what happened. But Hunter Biden arrived in court and he was not alone. He had mommy also show up. Again, here is Jill outside the court showing up alongside Hunter, the police barricading the doors, the line so that she can enter to support her 50-plus-year-old son during this trying time. And here's some audio on that, so you can hear some of that. And let's see. Come on, Jill, where are you at? Come on, mommy. All right, here she comes. Ah, there she is, Secret Service. That's nice. All right, so there is Jill going into the courthouse. We're familiar with why she's there. Remember, on yesterday's program, we learned that Hunter called her a vindictive C word. Wasn't very happy with Mama for some reason. Says that she was trying to throw him into sobriety and he wasn't wanting to go to rehab and other treatment mechanisms. But let's see what happened in trial today. So we have the court artist who's doing the sketches. Looks like a very nice gentleman, doing a nice job here. Appreciate all his hard work, bringing us the interior of the courtroom. But as we rewind the clock back to the beginning of the day, let's see where the day started. Now, they give us some analysis, and they brought out Kestan. We've got a direct examination of Kathleen Boulay that entered very quickly. And yesterday we talked about the jury instructions, but we're not going to spend any time on that. Now, I'll notice today that the testimony seemed a little bit lighter, and the reporting on the testimony seems to be a little bit lighter. And we remember that yesterday, we also learned that CNN was getting their reporting through notes. They were handwriting notes. People were in the courtroom writing this stuff down, and then they run it out, they hand it off to somebody, and then they report on it. So early this morning, Hunter Biden's ex-wife, Kathleen Boulay, was called by prosecutors to testify. So Hunter's ex, right there, Kathleen Boulay, testified. She's been called to testify. Why? Because prosecutors believe her testimony will help prove that Biden was using illegal drugs when he bought the gun in 2018. So presumably they're married, and she knows exactly what is happening. So she's going to come in and testify. Now, she was married to Biden for over 2 decades. That's Hunter. She's expected to testify about checking his vehicle in 2018, quote, from time to time, because she did not want their children in a vehicle with drugs. And while searching the vehicles, she found those drugs, paraphernalia, and a bunch of other things and threw them out. She is corroborated by a text message exchange with the defendant in which she tells Hunter on March 9th, I also found some crack pipes in your car. I took them out because our daughter was driving the car. Didn't want her to find your crack, Hunter. So she's going to come in and testify. And in fact, she does. She's called. She says Hunter Biden's ex-wife testified to the jurors. She says, well, ladies and gentlemen of the jurors, can you tell us about what you found in your home? And she says, yeah, I remember one time in July 2015, I went outside on the backyard and I found a crack pipe on an ashtray on the side porch of our home. There's crack pipes on the yard side. She said, I was previously worried. I was scared. I didn't know if he was going to be using drug at our house. And that's after his 2014 exit from the Navy, which I think was a discharge under questionable circumstances. Boulay is testifying under subpoena. She does not want to be there, but you're here. We got your text messages, so nice to see you. Boulay says she also found drugs in Hunter Biden's car multiple times. Yeah, that wasn't the first time. Did you find more? Yeah. Says that she testified that she found drugs and paraphernalia in Hunter Biden's car on multiple occasions. When my daughters would use his car, I would check to make sure there were no drugs in it. And what was he like when he was on drugs? She says, well, he was angry. He was short-tempered, and he tried to hide his drug use from his family and friends. Testimony continues, but it ends quickly. 15 minutes, that's all. Defense attorney Abby Lowell, and we're always wondering, right, if prosecutors are actually throwing this case. They put on the bare minimum just a couple of questions. Did you ever see him use crack? A couple of questions, and that's it. They do their basic minimum, and then they kind of, hey, we did our job. Leo Weiss only questioned Boulay for about 15 minutes. He's like, hi, how are you? What'd you have for breakfast this morning? She's like, pancakes. No further questions. Defense is like, okay, this is great, thanks. In her appearance, Boulay answered questions from the prosecutor with short, staccato answers. No, yes. We were in therapy together. Where Hunter Biden's addiction was discussed, Boulay told prosecutors. So that was pretty short. Now, under cross-examination, Hunter's defense lawyer, Abby Lowell, comes out. And Hunter's ex says, no, I don't know exactly. So do you remember when exactly you checked the car? No, not exactly. So you can't tell me what month? No. You can't tell me what day? No, I can't. I don't recall the exact days, she said. I only knew she cleaned the car when the daughters were using it. So whenever the daughters were using it, that was it. And she also said that Biden moved out of their house after she found the drugs. Says, well, he moved out really after I found the crack pipe, but only considered them separated after I found out about the infidelity. She's like, well, I threw him out when he was on crack, but once I found out he was sleeping with, who knows, maybe someone else's widow, who knows, but then found out about the infidelity. Now, Hunter Biden's ex-wife, Kathleen Boulet's off the stand. Abby Lowell, the defense attorney, concluded his questioning. Did you ever see Kathleen Hunter actually use drugs? No, I didn't. Never actually saw it, no. So it was just a crack pipe around the corner. Okay. Next up, Kathleen Boulet departs the White House. You see there she is. Or, sorry, the courthouse. Not the White House. Maybe she's been there too. Who knows? Her ex-wife is off the stand. Now, we fast forward, and Zoe Kestan, a girlfriend, another ex is on there, former girlfriend. So she comes out. She testifies about meeting him for the first time as well. Zoe Kestan told jurors how she met Hunter Biden at a gentleman's club she worked at in December. Says it was late at night. And saying that she was asked for one final private dance. Oh, that's so romantic. Hunter goes to a strip club. Well, just one more, baby, before the night's over. Come on, man. Come on, man. He was already in the room, said Kestan. Kestan found Hunter to be charming, adding that when the music was off at the club, he played a song by Fleet Foxes on his phone. Wow, really charming. That sounds like romantic as hell. That night, she said, Hunter Biden smoked something from a strange pipe. And given the context of where they're at, that could mean a lot of different things, and we're not sure what it means. But she said, oh, okay, I assumed it to be crack cocaine. She's like, oh, nice. Did you hit that pipe, Kestan? Were you hitting it too, or what? Were you also smoking something from strange pipes there? Weird times. That's the president's son, first son. Yeah. So Kestan testifies about a second time that they met Hunter in New York City. She also met Hunter for a second time in New York, testified that she saw him smoking crack again. A friend invited him to hang out, and I felt a connection with him, she said. Wow. So she decided to spend a week with him at the Soho Grand Hotel. It's funny when you feel a connection and you get to be pampered on someone else's dime for a whole week in a hotel room. Pretty interesting. She also saw him smoke crack during the trip, and eventually she witnessed him smoking every 20 minutes or so. And that is a big headline that's come out today. Everybody's saying, wow, that's a lot of crack. And was he doing that when he was buying the gun? Was he doing that when he was going in to the gun store to purchase that firearm that apparently he was forced to buy, according to Abby Lowell? Hunter was incredibly friendly, she said, charming in their interactions. And Kestan said she developed feelings for him. I already felt myself really caring for him. And she's a lot more talkative. She's like, hey, man, this is great. I love talking about this. So, of course, we fast forward. There's some analysis. And Kestan says she helped Hunter buy the drugs. Now, jurors were shown a picture of Zoe. That's Kestan. During the time she says she was with Hunter and she saw him smoke crack. She said, what is this image? What is that? Well, that's a used crack pipe, she said. And it's of a picture of an item on a bathroom sink and a countertop. Now, she also testified that she brought a drug dealer named Frankie up to the room at the Four Seasons to meet with Hunter. And we talked about a lot of these text messages here previously. We read through some of the court exhibits or the discovery filings, and we saw that there were a series of text messages between Hunter and what seemingly were other crackheads on the streets. She also said she witnessed Biden clean out a crack pipe using chopsticks and disassembled the pens. Biden also asked her to get cash for him to buy drugs, and we saw all that as well, and learned that he was pulling tons of cash. I think over a couple of months, $100,000+ out as well. And so we've got a lot to talk about and a lot to get to. And our friend Garrett is getting set up. And so as soon as he's ready, we are going to pull him in here and get started with everything. We have Are we good with Garrett? Are you ready to hop in here? Can you hear us? Let's see if you can. All right, so not quite yet. So we'll be here in a second. Now let's continue on because Kestan is still on the panel, still on the bench, and they're showing more crack pipes. Another image is shown to the jury was of Hunter in a bathtub. We did everything we could to avoid nipples yesterday on the show, but the court rendered the nipples in the rendering of the photo. Oh my gosh. So the court took a break. There showed a lot more about this. Prosecutors introduced even more pictures of Hunter into evidence. They talked about it from Zoe, and one showed Biden wearing a shirt that said addicted with an Adidas logo as well that was made to look like a marijuana plant. So she says, I thought that was funny because he didn't even smoke weed. That's just, come on, that's a little too light for him. You need the crack cocaine, baby. Get the good stuff. All right, so that's what happened. They break for lunch, and they're giving us some analysis. They say Hunter Biden hasn't reacted much to testimony, but jurors paid attention to his ex. And so a lot took place today, and it looks like we've got our friend Garrett who is joining us. You know my friends Garrett Ziegler at the start of the show. We gave a little bit of an introduction, but he is the author of the report on the Biden laptop we have right here. We've seen him here before. Garrett is an amazing investigator and analyst on a lot of what we're talking about. We're very grateful to have him here. And so let's pull him up. Mr. Garrett, can you hear us, my friend?
Yes, can you hear me?
Coming in loud and clear. It's good to see you.
And it's good to see you as well.
You're in Delaware, is that right?
Yes, I was a little bit late because I came from the trial directly. It gets out at 4:30 every day, and there's only a couple of right-wing writers there. The vast majority is lamestream reporters and CNN, and of those two live trial notes sites, I do prefer NBC's a little bit. Both of them are not what I would put. We've been doing our own thread on X and basically corroborating what's going on in the trial with what's going on, what we wrote in our report, which you graciously pointed to behind you. But I've been here every day. I'm going to be here till 5.
All right. So Garrett's there, and hopefully CIA, perfect. CIA are working on his inner tubes right now, trying to get that situated. So
sorry about that. I got a call.
You're back.
You're
good. You're okay. Cool.
I put the focus on now. I've been there every day. Hunter has a entourage of people behind him, not just the Secret Service and U.S. Marshals, but a lot of big hitters from Delaware. Obviously, Dr. Jill, I say that in quotation marks. She is there. Everybody has seen the courtroom artist rendering of that. But there was a little bit of controversy yesterday as I was taking a small break outside of the courtroom. I went to go get a drink from the water fountain like you do, and Hunter's wife came up to me and basically accosted me and said I had no right to be there. And I didn't respond in the moment because she was flanked by Secret Service officials, and this is the back of a courtroom. Remember, this is what the decency family is all about. But I was going to explain to her that I don't know where, she comes from a remote village in South Africa, and I don't know how they do things there, but in the United States, members of the public can observe criminal proceedings. I don't know where she gets this idea that I'm not allowed to be there. It's utterly preposterous. But that's the president's daughter-in-law dropped the F-bomb and said I'm a Nazi POS, which is ridiculous, of course. I'm not a Nazi in any way, shape, or form. Anybody who is any real opposition to them, and we have no opposition to them per se, we're just about the truth. And this device, which was entered into evidence yesterday, I know this has been an opening monologue, but and I sent you the link to all the exhibits or some of the exhibits that have been admitted, so we can discuss those. There's so much lurid material, but I do want to let people know, and you probably mentioned this, Robert, is that of the two trials, This one is not as interesting as the one coming up in California, because the one in California is tax evasion and many more financial transactions. And as a nerd, I really am more interested in that than I am the gun case. But it is a first, and I wanted to be here to learn. And we have learned a couple of new things from this trial. I urge everybody to go to BidenReport.com if they haven't already. A couple of new things that we learned. We learned the name of the 80-year-old who found the gun in the trash can after the president's daughter-in-law dumped it in there. We have the fact that Hunter took Joey's Cadillac to the gun store to illegally purchase the gun. Hilarious. We didn't know that before. So even the trial that the prosecutors brought charges in that had nothing to do with Joe, because they want to protect Joe, there is still some connection, which is Hunter drove his daddy's car there. I find that hilarious.
That is funny.
And ironic. But, this trial, keen observers have noticed some ironies. In the jury selection, which obviously you've done because you're a criminal defense attorney, Hunter's group was actually looking for people who were very pro-Second Amendment. Right. Because there is some question whether or not this is a constitutional law. That's part of the reason why I think the California charges are much more legitimate. He may have an appeal here. He's guilty of the crime. Absolutely. The question is whether the crime is constitutional. And if it goes all the way up to SCOTUS, I think he has a 6-3 shot here. We'll see. So this isn't a typical prosecution in that I think the statute is stupid. Nevertheless, they have used this atypical statute, Robert, to put in the physical device, because all we have, right, is a copy of the hard drive. But yesterday, Tuesday, June 4th, 2024, 4.5 years after the fact, it got dusted off of the evidence locker at the Wilmington Resident Agency of the Baltimore Field Office and was displayed in open court. So all of these people can kindly go F themselves, who have defamed me and everything else. And again, for the record, I want to be as fair as possible here. Abby Lowell, Denver Riggleman, Margaret Wheeler, Robert, they say there are signs of tampering. As you know, in the Western mind and in the Western legal system, it is incumbent upon the accusing party to provide evidence for your accusation. That is Western reason, right? This isn't the East where just the emperor rules and that's it. Denver Riggleman and Margaret Wheeler have provided zero evidence of tampering. So they're saying that, yeah, the FBI copy may be pristine, but what's out there in MarcoPolo and Rudy has been tampered with. Again, there's no evidence for that. We have put all the metadata for the emails online. So anybody who wants to dispute us can go download the emails themselves and try to find the tampering marks. So I know I'm going on long here, but there's just so much to discuss. I try to take the opposition's best argument and defeat that first. And then it's just, hitting easy singles the rest of the way. The best argument is, yeah, we can see that the FBI found no signs of tampering, but Rudy's copy could have been tampered with because Rudy got it after the FBI got it. But they who are putting forth that claim have to provide some form of evidence that it's true, and they haven't. So
that was a great download.
We can take this as many angles as you want.
That was a great download. There's a lot to unpack.
I'm getting the exhibits pulled up. Yep.
Okay, amazing. And first of all, congratulations on being vindicated again, I think, in open court by having that FBI agent say, yep, this thing's real, move to admit, and that's now part of the record there. I know.
Thank you. Miranda and Josh Boswell and I were all in the courtroom, and us three have all written extensively on this, months of our lives, if you add all the cumulative hours together. So Boswell from the Daily Mail, Miranda from the New York Post, and me from MarcoPolo. Yeah, we've been fair to all. We've never accused Hunter of anything he didn't do, but we've been fair. And the fact of the matter is that the device contains, at the very least, evidence of 459 violations of state and federal laws and regs. And that's a floor. So it could be much more. The feds are picking criminal conduct that is from an area that doesn't touch on Joe directly. That is a sham. And we've been very, very forthcoming on that. There is so much, there's a class of criminal conduct that touches Joe, the FARA violations, the money laundering, the two biggest statutes in our dossier, and the most important ones with the biggest prison terms. The prosecution, the special counsel, has picked the gun charges and tax evasion. Now, the tax evasion one in LA is going to touch on Joe, but there are still other things that haven't been charged. And so that's why the dossier is out there. So even if there's not justice at the federal level, there will at least be truth at the national level.
Right. And your report, so for those who have not seen it yet, right, it's available online. I refer people to MarcoPoloUSA.org, which goes over to the Substack, but they can also go to BidenLaptop.com or BidenLaptopReport.com.
So that URL that you mentioned, that MarcoPoloUSA.org URL, it has multiple URLs within that. So if you go to that, you'll be able to find everything else. You'll be able to find the email database, which is BidenLaptopEmails.com. The one that's even more popular than the emails, because humans are visual beings, is the photo site. Everybody can go look at the photos. BidenLaptopMedia.com. It redacts genitalia with purple, with Marco Polo purple. But it is all the photos. Now, we're still working on the videos. It has been a very big lift because we had to get AI to track the genitalia in the photos. Remember, the U.S. president's son thought of himself as an amateur porn star, which brings me to the second witness at today's trial, Zoe Kestan. Zoe Kestan is the daughter of a Jewish South African lawyer, very accomplished, very sharp. He's an IP lawyer in New York City. Zoe dated / was the hooker / was the stripper for Hunter Biden. He shot multiple amateur pornography videos with her. We have correspondence between Hunter and a Brazilian-born stripper in Boston who filmed the sex encounter. So there's many reasons why Hunter's lawsuit against us is stupid, Robert. One of them is that he uploaded this stuff himself. Zoe Kestan, the witness number 2 today, at this very moment, still has an active OnlyFans account where anybody in the United States and across the world for $9 can go download content that still features the U.S. president's son. Some of her OnlyFans sex videos still has Hunter's genitalia in them to this day because she was with him for over a year. So Zoe Kestan testified today, Kathleen Buell, no greater anger than a woman scorned. I know I'm paraphrasing that idea, but there are many women scorned at Hunter, and that's coming to bite him in the ass. And, it's a little bit of justice. Joey's going to pardon him or commute a sentence. Remember, all they want to do is get past the election because it's going to be politically unpalatable for Joey to pardon him or commute a sentence before the election. So that's why they wanted to push both trials beyond the election. So even if he gets convicted here, I don't think there'll be a full pardon. Because Joey wants to be able to say he picked the lesser of two evils, but I do believe he'll be commuted. And that's the great thing about our Constitution is it does afford Joey. Now, he isn't there legitimately. He cheated, but nevertheless, cheat or not, he is in the office, and that affords him the presidential pardon power at the federal level. And it is beautifully unconditional. And so that's why Hunter still has a couple of hair follicles. If his daddy didn't have that get out of jail free card, I think he would have lost all of his hair by now.
Well, before we get there, what's your impression of the jury and what we've seen so far? We've been getting it all secondhand, like you saw us earlier. We've been getting it from CNN and getting their jury breakdown. Yeah. And from what we've read, it sounds like some people are very emotional in this testimony. They're hearing his audiobook. Maybe they're empathizing with him. They're sympathetic to him, saying he's a recovered drug addict. And maybe this case is, like you explained earlier, something that's unconstitutional. And many people here are also making that same comment. This is unconstitutional, and I would just nullify on that basis alone. Whereas we're saying, well, no one's above the law, equal standards apply, and you certainly want to prosecute to the full extent of the law, just like they're doing with Trump's false business records. So what are you seeing there? I mean, are you feeling like the case is, from our perspective, the evidence is so strong, it would be shocking if they could not convict him, but it's Delaware. Joe Biden's been there for decades and feels like there's a lot of pressure. Joe Biden sitting there in the front row, staring at everybody. Secret Service has filled the room. What are you thinking?
Well, that's a very good question. And a couple of things come to mind right off the bat. Number one, the jury is It's a cross section of Wilmington, I'll say that. It is the District of Delaware, which means it's a statewide district. A couple of states like that in the United States are like that, right? You have the District of Vermont. Now, Illinois, where I'm from, has 3 districts, right? I'm in the Southern Illinois District for federal court. But it seems as though the jury is only from Newcastle County, because anybody from Delaware will tell you that the differences between Kent County, Sussex County, and Newcastle County are stark. And Delaware has the lowest amount of counties in the country. It only has 3. If this jury were made up more of Sussex County, you'd get a lot more whites and everything else. I think there's 7 blacks, 5 whites. That is almost basic proportional to Wilmington, but not quite. Wilmington is like Mississippi. It's a very black-laden city. And so you can argue that if it were Newcastle County Court, Hunter would have a representative jury, but it's not representative of Delaware. There's more minorities in the jury than there are outside of it. So that's another angle to this, meaning that based on the statistics alone, blacks are, and some of this has to do with Joe, ironically, right? Joey is due to the mandatory minimums. Blacks in the United States have a higher incidence of prison time with regard to guns and drugs. Part of that's with Joey's own consent. And so that may end up helping Hunter. One piece of data that I want everybody to go to, and I'm not being rude, I'm pulling up the docket right now. Last month in May, Noreika sentenced somebody to a year in prison, which was double what the DOJ was asking for this very statute.
Wow.
So it's U.S. versus Z Dong. The case number is criminal 57 for 21. And there it is, 924A1A, false statement during the purchase of a firearm. Noreika put him in 12 months and 1 day on counts 1 and 2, both counts to run concurrently. He's got to be at a federal correction institution near Elkton, Maryland. And he surrendered on May 29th. Why is this relevant? Well, if she did what you were suggesting, which was what I would be thinking about as a federal judge, is this statute constitutional? I don't want to sentence somebody that I think the statute is unconstitutional for. Noreika's already made that determination that she thinks it's constitutional. So the only way Hunter serves a day is if his surrender date is before November 5th. That is pushing it. If he gets convicted next week, you could see a sentence date for, as late as August, and then you could have a surrender date, in December. He's just hoping. I'm trying to get. I love going on your program because you give me a chance to talk, and there's so much game theory in this. All Hunter is looking for is a surrender date after November 5th. Because even if Joey doesn't pardon him, he can commute his sentence. DJT commuted Roger Stone's sentence the day before he was to surrender to the BOP. So that's another thing going on. The jury, I would say, is not overly emotional. There's only been a couple of times of laughter. One thing that is apparent, and you'll not get this from NBC or CNN, the Bidens have been extremely unprofessional in the gallery. While the prosecutor was holding up the laptop, Melissa, Jill, and Ashley were either crying or shaking their heads. The family and his friends behind Hunter, behind the defense table on the left side.
In the bench, the jury can see all this,
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. So you got that's why I didn't say anything back to Melissa, by the way, because it's such a despotic regime that the U.S. Secret Service approved of her verbally accosting me. And yet if I did anything back to her, even verbally, I'd probably get a forearm in the chest. That's the level of tyranny we're living under. So you have SS officers sitting right by Melissa. You got the U.S. Marshals. Those people, not the U.S. Marshals and SS officers, who I think are corrupt, but nevertheless are stoic in their corruption. The Bidens are reacting visibly and sometimes audibly to the evidence presented in the trial. They're acting like 7-year-olds. And you'd think that somebody objectively, even if I didn't know these people from Adam, somebody would have coached them and said, hey, you're the U.S. first family. No matter what happens here, you have got to have a stoic face on. We can cuss to the wind all we want from 5 p.m. to 8 a.m., right, amongst ourselves. But when you're in the courthouse, you've got to be stoic and you've got to have your game face on. And they just pissed that to the wind. I mean, they are, I would say, without exaggeration, every half an hour, there's either a visible shaking of head. And remember, I'm 2 rows behind them. That's the thing. Before, Melissa accosted me, I was on the other side of the gallery on the second to last row, and there's 5 rows. So she would have had to manually look back just for me, and I was in the middle of the row, not saying anything with my hands in my lap. But these people are so emotional and can't take any criticism. I told one of my fellow writers there yesterday, I mean, have any of these people played high school sports, Robert? I mean, I was in high school basketball, downstate white Illinois high school basketball, which is basically like JUCO college, right? Like I played AAU ball. Serious ball was played in St. Louis and Chicago, right? And the D1 players make it there. I was like I was all state for the lower rung of high school basketball. And you had to face hecklers. Have the Bidens never faced hecklers in their entire life? In high school, I got the experience of if you airball one, the opposing student section will yell airball for like 5 minutes straight. And guess what? At 18 and 17, you develop thicker skin than the U.S. First Family. Like some people think that I went up to Melissa and cussed her out and said, "How can you marry such a degenerate son of a bitch?" Which is true, right? But I didn't, because she's a 5'1" female. So not only did Hunter get emasculated, he showed that his family has no sobriety, both literally and figuratively.
Well, it feels to me like they're cracking or something is snapping. I mean, there's a major trajectory shift in the polls. We're seeing that all over the place. It looks like Trump has this energy, this momentum. And as you were speaking, I was thinking about even the double standard. What if someone in the Trump family accosted somebody who was investigating the Trump family standing outside of Manhattan, Bragg's DA or something, right? It'd be a national story, total meltdown. There was some play in the story. NBC covered it, and I know that it did show up in the story, but the other elements of this about them having these little blowouts in court, what I've been seeing in the media is really a lot of cover up, a lot of there's tears and the jurors are emotional and this whole thing, or people are wondering why the charges were even brought in the first place and all this stuff. So the double standard exists even in this case. Obviously, Trump is being prosecuted in one of the most rigged jurisdictions against him in the country. Biden gets the exact opposite right in his backyard, where Joe Biden's had his little fiefdom for the last 30 plus years. And so, you're there. I think it is a tribute to your work, the fact that they are so upset even at the sight of you that she comes screaming at you.
It's so pathetic. I mean, wild. In life, you have to buck up and face who you perceive your enemies to be with a clear mind, right? This is a joke. This is 7-year-old behavior. And I'll say that the Biden family behind the defense table is more emotional than the jurors. I've seen nothing. Let's put it this way. If I were a defendant, I've seen nothing from the jury emotion-wise that would give me cause for concern. They're taking notes both when Lowell is speaking and when the prosecution is speaking. And I would tell you differently if the facts bore that out, right? Anybody who follows us knows that we defend Hunter when there are lies about him, and we tell the truth when there are not. So I have no motive to give you, Miranda Devine will talk about this. Josh Boswell will admit this, that they are visibly shaking their heads if anything is said by the prosecution that they disagree with. And let's put it this way. The judge has the discretion to decide what is allowable in her courtroom. Some judges won't even allow that. Noreika is, partly because of the intimidation factor. I mean, you have for the Secret Service there. I dipped out 5 minutes about 4:25 today to go look at the other courtrooms, and there wasn't a soul in them, on the second floor, right? It was just the defendant and nobody in the gallery. And so this is like an anomaly for the District of Delaware. Part of that anomaly is their, I would say, unconstitutional rules about electronic devices. And this is why you haven't seen a live tweeting from me. I wanted to live tweet it just like Matthew Russell Lee did, but guess what? They only give devices to resident reporters. They discriminate between people who are there for a trial and people who live there and cover it as a full-time beat. Now, I understand the laptop privileges for the full-time beat people, but guess what? There's no reason why we shouldn't have our phones in the overflow room right? So there are 80 seats in the gallery. Hunter takes up, and his family, about 25 of them. I totally understand Norika's standing rule that no devices except for the attorneys be in the courtroom, right? That's totally understandable. What is not reasonable is there's a third floor overflow room where we get the audio feed, not even the video, but the audio feed from the trial. And you can't even have your phone there. It's utterly ridiculous. So that's why you see every like 4 hours us updating it, because it's when I go back to my car in the parking garage, because I don't even want to bring my phone in there, because if you do, you have to have it in this stupid little pouch, and it's extremely uncomfortable to carry. I actually agree with the big law firm's motion to intervene here. This big law firm, Ballard Spahr, which is where Leslie Wolf went. She's of counsel there. They actually intervened on behalf of Washington Post, ABC, NBC, all of the big lying press, to get their writers to have their cell phones there. They're not even asking for laptops. But the fact of the matter is that you have CBS right now having 3 gophers. One of them is standing in the overflow room. One of them is going through security, and the next one is typing it out outside. And it's just a constant train. It is
Crazy.
a disaster. So
Crazy.
That I wanted to tell you that, though, because that's an insider baseball thing here that's pissing off everybody righteously. I get the courtroom is sacrosanct. I get it. But if you have an audio overflow room, it is an abomination that you can't have your phone there.
Yeah, and I've noticed that it's been difficult to get good information from this. People are outside reporting. I think I saw CNN. They were holding up their scribbled notes. Somebody sent in, jury select. I'm like, that's it. That's what we get of this whole thing. But
I know.
But I wanted to ask about the judge, right? Mary Ellen Norica, because we have covered her for some time here. She was the one who really put the speed bumps, the brakes on the whole plea deal, which, in my opinion, what would have maybe gone through if it wasn't the president's son and he wasn't so stubborn. If he would have just accepted this plea deal, I think that it would have been a much better deal for him. He wouldn't have been ultimately prosecuted and could have avoided all of this, but he didn't. And so they only moved forward on the charges that were already part of a rigged plea deal, basically. This is one of the most ridiculous charges. We can even agree, even looking back on it, like, okay, this could maybe even be unconstitutional. That's how bad this was. And so the analogy that we were using here on the show was like, if somebody gets in an aggravated DUI, they blow through an intersection, hit a car, kill a family, whatever, right? Tragic scene that happens all the time. They pull that person out, the guy who caused it, and they just give him a red light ticket. And they say, well, we're going to forget about all that other stuff. It's like, and then they give him a red light ticket plea deal. This would be the plea deal to Hunter. And then he rejects it. He says, that's ridiculous. I don't want anything like that. And they would ultimately go away anyways. And so now they're only essentially going to trial on the red light ticket. They're kind of forgetting all of this other stuff that you've covered and chronicled for us for over the years. So from the inception, this thing is basically a jaywalking ticket, a slap on the wrist, and that's what they're going to trial on. And the judge really caught the whole thing. I mean, they were just one. If Hunter would have just shut his mouth for 2 seconds and accepted this whole thing could have been avoided. So I wanted to get your take on the judge and how she's comporting herself. Is she seemingly fair? What's your take?
Yes, I've thought about this a great deal. I compare Mary Ellen Norica, who uncommonly doesn't have a middle name. You always put the initials at the top of the federal cases for the judges. Just MN for her. I've thought deeply about this because sociology is my favorite subject. Think of Mary Ellen as that very judicious, careful, no BS older sister. And you can understand why she's a permanent bachelor. She's never been married. And it's not because she's not kind or ugly. It's just that she's like that. And so I think she's been fair to both sides, but it's somebody who in high school would have been mad at you for cheating off of them in Spanish class. But she would have been a great person to cheat off of because she actually did the work. And so I'm blanking on the exact right adjective for her. Judicious is a good adjective I would describe. Her voice belies her ability to crack the whip. Her voice is like, I'm not sure if you've heard of that phenomenon, ASMR. Certain voices put people to sleep. Her voice is like an ASMR voice, but she's not into BS. And I think she's very argumentative when somebody challenges her and she believes she's in the right. So I think she's been fair, but she's like a strict teacher. That's the emotional response that I get from her. She's been in there since 2018, was part of the uniparty legal establishment in Wilmington for 25 years. She was at the very same firm, weirdly, for 25 years, 1993 to 2018, and that was the only job she held. She was only a civil litigator. So for only being a civil litigator, I think the criminal trial that she's done so far has been impressive, right? You're in the legal field, you know what the difference is between a novice and a well-trained trial judge. And even conducting trials for the civil standard vis-a-vis the criminal standard is much different, right? The jury instructions are much different. It's not preponderance of the evidence. It's beyond a reasonable doubt. And Lowell is a good sophist. We've talked about him on this program. He is a good sophist. If there is reasonable doubt, BS or not, he will try to hammer that. Now, this is in the weeds, but your audience is sharp. At the appellate level, because this is how I talk about this kind of stuff we talk about with the MarcoPolo guys. At the appellate level, they could split it Solomon style. They could split the baby. I think of the three paperwork charges that Hunter has, the third one is most ripe for overturning. That is owning a firearm and being an unlawful user. Or a user of controlled substances. I personally think that's unconstitutional because those stipulations aren't in the Constitution.
Right.
The first two of making a false statement on a form, that I understand. That I think is more constitutional, put it that way, for multiple reasons. There's a scenario where you have a gun but didn't purchase it. What does that mean? What if you inherited it, right? That means you wouldn't have to go to the gun store to fill out the form. But if you're on drugs and somebody breaks into your house, by that definition, let's say you're a crack addict and you smoked crack at 10 p.m. This is literally going to come up in the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. I promise you, Lowell's going to appeal this, even if they get the commutation. You can still appeal it even if you get the commutation, because commutation just deals with punishment, not the underlying felony. If you're a crack addict, smoke crack at 10 p.m., and somebody breaks into your house at 1 a.m., and you shoot them rightfully in the face to protect you and your family, based on that statute, it would be unlawful for you to have that gun. I don't agree with that. What's much stronger is the two false statement charges. So, again, if Hunter's crew were intellectually honest, and they do have one person named Vinny Staropoli watching every interview I do, right? Because then they transcribe it and put it in their BS lawsuits against me. But if they were intellectually honest, Robert, I'm serious, they would we're fair to them. The third charge is likely unconstitutional because I'm a Second Amendment absolutist. And the Second Amendment won't work for every people group on planet Earth. It only works for those who have self-government ability, sobriety, impulse control. That's what our official statement was in response to Melissa Cohen, the 5'1" verbal terrorist. You have to have self-control. That's a fruit of the spirit. She don't have it. So I'm not saying the Second Amendment, but when I say Second Amendment absolutist, I'm not saying it works for every regime of all time in human history. I'm saying it works for America because we at our founding had impulse control, meaning you don't just go over to somebody's house and shoot them or bring a gun in public, right? But if you lose that self-government, there will be chaos. So I think the third charge is unconstitutional. The first two are constitutional. Hunter is clearly guilty. The only thing they're betting on right now is a juror who lied during the selection, who broke the oath. Maybe they love Joey. The juror that I would worry most about, by the way, NBC and CNN got this wrong too, of course, even though it doesn't help our political cause at all, is that both the woman on the jury and her husband are retired SS officers. Now, the husband was an officer. One juror is she was a secretary, right? Nothing wrong with that. I love him. But the Secret Service employee that's on the jury was an administrative secretary at the Secret Service for decades. Her husband is also retired, and he worked at the White House and was an actual officer with a gun. But it makes it sound worse if he's on the staff currently, right? I would have struck that, right? You get 6 strikes for any cause. You don't even have to articulate a reason. You know that. As a defense attorney, that's one of you cherish that golden ticket. I don't want that guy for some reason, and you don't have to tell the court why. So I love striking. You remember, my natural impulse is for defense. I've never wanted to be a prosecutor. I love the standard of beyond a reasonable doubt, man. It gives me goosebumps. It's so freaking rare that you have to, and it's unanimous.
It is a beautiful thing.
I always botch this word, but it has to be unanimous, beyond reasonable doubt. It's freaking beautiful. So when I go through this and listen to Abby, he's a sophist. I could try this case better than the AUSA's on it. Not because I'm a better lawyer than them. I'm not ridiculous, but it's because they don't know the facts as well as me. Lowell is going to bring up all of this extra shit that has nothing to do with whether he lied on the form or not. And there's just so much that has went on, but so little of it's new because of the laptop.
Let me ask you, let's pause on that prosecutor point, because I want to come back to that about how the prosecutors are conducting themselves in this case, because it's a little shocking to me that they would be behind rigging a plea deal, rigging this diversion deal, creating this. My understanding is David Weiss didn't even want this to come about for a long time. He was trying to get a non-prosecution agreement actually crafted before filing charges. Just dismiss it before it even percolated at all and moved its way through the legal system. But before that, I wanted to just pause, because you made a comment and I made a smirk, and I was kind of laughing at you being sued and being monitored by these people all the time. And I don't want to make light of that. The reason I do that is because you are so effective. And I think that is exactly what this shows. You're just under their skin to such a degree that it's wild. But many people want to know how they can support you as we're talking about this, because I know that you've got lawsuits that you're facing. And so we'll carry on, but let's just pause for a quick minute. Where can people go? We've linked your main website down in our description, but just give us a quick plug, and then I want to ask you about the prosecutors.
Thank you very much. Yeah, right now we have outstanding $92K in legal bills. In 2023, we paid $295,000 to lawyers to just defend ourselves. These are totally frivolous cases, totally ridiculous. Even Richard Epstein from LA ruled for us. So the main site, our GiveSendGo, is just at fightbiden.org. You can find it on GiveSendGo, but we bought that $7 domain name and redirected it. So fightbiden.org has all the information you'd ever need as a donor. It has the case file, the link to the case docket, because if you're a nerd like me, you never want to give to a legal fund if you don't know the pleadings, right? You can go see the BS yourself. And we found a nonprofit Christian group in California to represent us against Hunter in the federal case. He's suing us in the Central District of California, hilariously the exact district that he's getting indicted in the trial in September's in. FightBiden.org is the legal defense fund. Another way to support us is go to BidenLaptopReport.com. That is the link to get a physical copy of the dossier, which sits above your right shoulder. And the e-reader, which I urge everybody to read tonight as you listen to Robert and I speak, is at BidenReport.com. Go to the keyword search feature at the top right. It's intuitive, just like you would navigate a web page. Go to our e-reader at BidenReport.com. Keyword search Kathleen, Zoe, Hunter, Hallie, Gunn, Jansen's, StarQuest. These are all things going on in the trial. And I think that's what is fun about being there. And I'm going to be there the next 2 days. I think what's going to happen is they're going to get done on Friday and do the deliberations on Monday. But those are the two ways to support us and promote what we're putting out. We put out all of it for free on our X. All of our usernames are the same. About 6 months ago, we changed the usernames, made them all uniform. It's all MarcoPolo 501c3. That's our website, MarcoPolo501c3.org. That's our usernames on X. We're going to reach 180 tonight on X.
Amazing.
Which has been good. We're throttled like hell, though, because they mark some of the stuff we post as sensitive, even though we've never posted genitalia. We cover all penises, all butt cracks, all vaginal areas. And remember, this is the decency family. Jill said this. She said decency is on the ballot. Well, we give you that decency. And so X should not be throttling us. And the legal defense fund is very critical, because all we want to do is continue our work. We're the most frugal group out there. I'm staying with a friend out here. Everything is grassroots. I've gone to 16 of the 50 states. If you go to our website, I know this is a long answer to your question, but if you go to our website, you'll see the tour. We have one scheduled for next month in Colorado. And then that final 4 months, I'm going to be on the road every week, going to the final 34 states. So I'll go to all 50 states by November 5th. With a dossier. and we're going to sell out of the physical paperback copies within the month, and then we're going to do a hardback cover edition with golden embossed pages
Nice.
from Easton Press out of Omaha, Nebraska. It's going to be absolutely hilarious. Every one of them is going to be signed. It's going to be like a limited edition, 1,000 copies.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to get those.
To get us up to November. So again, it's what are we? We're an OSINT group. What does that mean? We scour the internet. If it's on the internet and we can't find it, it's an embarrassment to us. So that's what we do. We're an OSINT collective. The reason why I think Melissa hates us so much is you usually see these things on the left, like the anonymous hackers, right? And DDoS. Right. I'm not a forensics person myself, but I speak with them daily, and we, I'll explain it this way. I'll illustrate it this way. A couple of people on X are now realizing that the pseudonym emails that Joey was using, 67 Stingray, Robinware 456, Robert L. Peters, they've all figured out this site called Have I Been Pwned, which is to figure out if your email's in a leak. I was doing that shit in 2021.
Right.
I would just go through the emails, all 128,000 of them, find Joey's pseudonyms, and then plug it into Intellex and see all of the data leaks that it's been on. So there's so much. I mean, beyond just, like I said, the amateur porn star, Hunter still has active Pornhub accounts. They still have active pornography accounts to this day. Venmo, here's something in our dossier. Venmo had to change their source code for the Bidens, because the Biden family, even though they were the U.S. first family, made their usernames so easy to guess that any pissant who had an internet connection and a Venmo account could see who Joe was paying for how much and when. These people have digital AIDS. That's what we call it, Robert. Their OPSEC is that of a 78-year-old who doesn't know how to navigate the internet.
It might not just be digital, man. Who knows where Hunter's been?
Well, with Hallie, remember, talking about the witness tomorrow. They didn't get to Hallie, although she was at the courthouse today with her new husband. We broke a story on Saturday in the New York Post. Miranda Devine worked with us on this one. Hallie got married on Sunday, hilariously, to a financial advisor in Cincinnati.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
So even if you think you're having a bad week, this is Hallie's week. She gets married, doesn't even get to have a honeymoon, and then goes and has to testify at her ex-lover's / dead husband's brother's trial, telling the jury that Hunter introduced her to crack. That was one thing that came out on Monday in the opening, or Tuesday in the opening arguments. Hunter got his dead brother's widow on crack cocaine. And all we do in our dossier is put the transcripts of their phone calls when she's asking him for help to get the crack cocaine. We call it the cocaine saga. But all we've done is take a scientific approach to the device, and that has ran them up a wall. They have such underdeveloped characters. Usually by 55, some of your biggest character flaws are worked out through, you get the kinks out through being a human being and praying that the Holy Spirit will work on your heart. That is not there. They don't think about the world like that. Nothing's going on. No introspection. 4 years of your sex videos and drug deals online, and it has inspired zero introspection. To a sociologist amateur like me, that is fascinating. How does zero introspection happen in 4 years?
I don't know, but it's a phenomenon that seems to be in D.C., and it's definitely got their hold on Biden's. They've been there for a long time.
Yes. So one word answer, fightbiden.org. Everything's there. You can find our website through fightbiden.org, our report, our legal cases.
Amazing. So that is really, thank you for the details on that, because the work is awesome. And if you guys haven't seen it, it really is. Every time I flip it open or show somebody, I show it to people all the time. I'm like, check this out. Like, oh my gosh, the reaction that people have. Some people just shut it. They can't even believe it. It's just amazing.
They cannot face the truth. They literally at a synapse level won't look at it. One thing we did, the reason why we have the purple and the weird dolphin logo is because it sticks in your mind. That's part of the reason for the logo and the color. It's not because we want to be cute. It's that once you see the logo, no matter what your response, you can't forget it. That's one of your goals for developing a logo, right? You don't want the person to forget it. So that's, if somebody is just coming, first time they've heard of me and know that we're covering the trial, the reason for the purple is because it's unforgettable. You're like, what the fuck is a purple dolphin, right? And then you
Yeah.
say, holy crap, this thing has 2,000 footnotes. This playful dolphin thing, they're not schmucks. And that's what
Right.
they're used to, the right being schmucks, right? That's what it is. And we're not schmucks. And I mean, that's why you see Kevin Morris. Kevin Morris's family, here's news. Kevin Morris, the demented caveman sugar brother of Hunter, he's been sitting behind him all week. His whole family's abandoning him. There was a huge piece in the New York Post yesterday. His 23-year-old adult daughter apparently went up to Hunter and said, stop taking advantage of my dad. So again, we told Morris this in June of 2022. My friend said, hey, you know Hunter's never going to pay you back, right? There's a whole Indian tribe ahead of you in line. That Indian tribe is the Oglala Sioux. Remember the Indian bond fraud case where they stole millions from a Indian tribe in South Dakota, the poorest in the nation? My friend was like to Kevin, you're stupid for doing this. Biden's are
Is
never.
that the one Devin Archer was involved in? Was he involved in that one, or was that a separate one? Yeah.
No, that is the Oglala Sioux. Hunter was indicted because his daddy was the sitting VP, but Hunter was involved. We put that in our report. If not for the direct securities violation, which we argue he was definitely in the conspiracy, 18 U.S.C. 371. They should have charged him, and even if he pleads guilty, he's a first-time offender, and he wouldn't have to serve any jail time. But he was definitely involved in the conspiracy. There's multiple emails proving that he was involved in the placement agency, everything else. We go into the Indian bond fraud for about 10 pages. And so my friend told Kevin Morris, there's literally a whole Indian tribe who still hasn't been made whole. So he's so nuts. So the only way Abby's going to get paid for this service, remember, Abby's doing this as an in-kind campaign donation to Joe. Abby's not being paid right now because
Wow.
Kevin has tapped out of his liquid assets. Most of that $100 million is in real estate. The Malibu estate alone is 25 mil. So the liquid cash he has is dwindling. And this should cause Hunter, a reasonable person, to, number one, dismiss the civil suits because he can't pay his lawyers.
Right.
Well, poor Hunter. Hunter doesn't have to pay his lawyers, right? We get 10% interest if we don't pay our lawyers, not Hunter. So this is Abby's service to the party with a capital P. He's not. The only way Abby gets paid is if the DNC pays him. He ain't getting paid by Hunter. Remember, this is classic Biden behavior. I did a talk last summer at the Wilmington Country Club. There were contractors coming up to me afterwards, or at the DuPont Country Club. There were contractors coming after me afterwards and said, Joey never paid his landscapers. Like this is common Biden behavior.
Interesting.
His credit score's in the 500s, man. I mean, these are trash people. They don't pay you when they're supposed to pay you. And so none of this is surprising. Not my words. Go look at what their former business partners say about them.
Well, let's come back to that Kevin Morris bit for a second, because wasn't there another story also that Leslie Wolf and the CIA may have been putting pressure on Leslie Wolf? Were you familiar with that? Did you follow that?
I'm totally familiar with it at the ground level.
Yeah, so the story is, right, Kevin Morris is this sugar daddy to Hunter, paying him all these bills. Kevin Morris is an ex-Hollywood lawyer mogul, I think South Park money, something like that, had a ton of money.
Exactly.
People wondering, where'd all the money come from? Why is he giving it all to Hunter? And then Leslie Wolf, who was a lead prosecutor for the DOJ, was investigating Hunter, and we saw her name all up and down the reports in 2020 when they were burying all that from coming out before the election. And so apparently the CIA, Leslie Wolf got wind of Morris, the sugar daddy, and was starting to look into him, and the CIA put pressure on her. So the CIA tells the DOJ, don't look into Biden's sugar daddy. Do I have...
Yes. That is what
right?
the affidavit. That is what the affidavit from Gary Shapley says. Joe Ziegler admits this as well, and the exact mechanics are thus: Leslie Wolf and Jack Morgan. Jack Morgan's at the HQ of the DOJ in Washington. Leslie Wolf was the chief AUSA at Wilmington, as you mentioned. They are summoned to Langley. This is not even a phone call thing. Summoned to Langley to get a briefing about Morris. Now, what is not answered in that affidavit is their exact relationship, right? Unlike Smirnov, a paid handler, we have no evidence that Morris was paid by the CIA, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't know people there. Remember, Hollywood is degenerate. What is Hollywood? Degeneracy, Chi-Com money, the mafia. Like, it is a hornet's nest. They have probably lawyers, actors all over the town, just not necessarily employed by them. We have no evidence that he's a CIA asset, but we have evidence that somebody was summoned to Langley to get a briefing about it. Now,
Wild.
I just want somebody to talk more, right? What the Congress hasn't been doing, if the Congress at the staff level was run by people like me, I'd say, yeah, we're going to get to Leslie, don't worry, but let's take Jack Morgan. Shapley's affidavit said Morgan went along as well. Get his ass up here, right? Because if you ask more people, the likelihood that one of them is going to break and actually tell the freaking truth to you goes up. So there's so many logistics. Like, if they went in person, there's going to be videotape of somebody going to and fro, right? Just get the videotape from that day. Shapley said Leslie was bragging that she got swag from the CIA gift shop, like a ninth grade girl going to Claire's for the first time. My God.
Her sticker. Yeah.
Yeah. So you just call Leslie in. Have you bought anything from the CIA gift shop? If so, on what day, right? There are so many ways to get at this, so many ways to pierce the hide. But you need real killers on this. And Jack Morgan is the weak link. Jack Morgan should be testifying about all of this. He's not even involved in the prosecution. He's not in the special counsel's office. He can't claim that he's involved in an active thing. Get his ass in there. Ask him why he went to the CIA, because it wasn't just Leslie Wolf. And remember, Leslie Wolf buffaloed Shapley because Shapley submitted these emails in the affidavit as exhibits saying, hey, I really want to know what this briefing is about. I should be read in. In fact, Ziegler was complaining to Shapley. He was his boss. Shapley was Ziegler's boss. That said, hey, Leslie's cutting me out of this. I'm the line agent, and I have no visibility why the CIA is calling her. I want to know. So what does he do like a good boss? He emails Leslie and says, and this is like, how corporate bureaucracies work. Now that she knows that Shapley's read in, she at least has to email him back. So she buffaloes Shapley because Shapley's like at her level in the IRS vis-a-vis where she's at the U.S. Attorney's Office. So she wouldn't even give Joe Ziegler the courtesy of a lie. But once Joe Ziegler's boss came and asked her, hey, what's this all about? You realize this is my investigation, right? I'm the lead head honcho at the IRS on the Biden investigation. If the assistant U.S. attorney is being called to Langley, even if we can't go for some stupid reason because the CIA is corrupt, I at least want to meet with you 48 hours later in person and get a complete rundown, skiff or not, right? So there's a lot of angles of this story. We're going to stay on it like stink on crap. And again, Morris owes us $50,000 in legal fees already. So whatever he's given Hunter, he's got to set aside 50 for us. And if we win at the appellate level, it's going to be about $200,000. He'll owe us about $200,000. Yeah, it was stupid of him to mess with us.
Right. Well, it's more lawfare. They're trying to stop you because you're effective, and they're trying to drain you of resources. And fortunately, you're a fighter.
Gross.
Yeah, it's really, it's pathetic, and it's.
Thank God DJT has the campaign for his legal bills. Like Mike Roman, who just got indicted in Wisconsin, a great guy, the defendant who set off the chain of events for the Fani decision today in the appellate court. If not for Mike Roman, that literally would maybe be going to trial in July. So we need to all pray and give to Mike Roman because he just got indicted in Wisconsin and he's being totally left out to dry. The RNC should be paying for all of his legal bills. It makes me sick. So
I agree with that completely. And there's a lot of Republicans who I think could lend a hand on this with their voice, with their power, with their email lists, and they're all sitting on the sidelines as they're going after some of the strongest people in the party, quite frankly, who are not criminals at all.
I totally agree. And guess what? I can see things. We see things clearly. We're getting buffaloed in law, and we have lawfare against us, but it's not criminal. It's just civil. So if I'm sitting in Roman's seat, I'm like, I'm asking buddy, hey, what the hell, man? I'm getting kicked in the shin over here, and y'all aren't helping me, right? Yeah. I want everybody to go give to our legal defense fund, but I also want them to go give to Mike Roman because guess what? Yeah. Mike Roman has like 8 kids. I have 2 and a third due in July, so we all need protected. The right has to protect its own, and that means financial and everything else. So, because the left does it, and the left has big sugar daddies. So the right sugar daddies need to protect their own, and then the grassroots has to protect their own. And they're doing it with Trump, right? I love the 40 mil after the illegitimate verdict from small dollar people. It isn't even super PAC funds. But they need to come out for the littler folks like Mike Roman and like MarcoPolo. Dude, we're doing work that NBC envies, but nobody pays attention to us because we don't kiss anybody's ass, except you, which is why I'm grateful that I get to be on your program. They know that nobody's gone deeper in this issue than us, but their corporate bosses don't want to rely on us because they think that we're crazies, which is just so stupid. I mean, I've been with you in person. You know how I am. I mean, the idea that we're some unpalatable group is preposterous. Like Melissa Cohen said, I called her ethnic slurs to NBC. I texted the reporter, and to her credit, she put it in the piece. I was like, I've never said anything about Melissa Cohen. I don't even know what ethnicity she is. And guess what? She doesn't. You know why? Because she was adopted. Melissa Cohen doesn't know what ethnicity she is because she was adopted. So how the hell could I make an ethnic slur? And by the way, one of my best friends is adopted. I think it's glorious, right? So I told the NBC writer, Sarah Fitzpatrick, there's no evidence for that. But guess what? In Biden world, you can just spew shit on the walls and nobody asks you for any primary
the media covers
for
it up.
Any claim that you're making, right? So we've claimed in our dossier that the Biden family is corrupt. In the Western world, it's incumbent on us to produce evidence for those claims. That's how adults work. We have done that to their great displeasure. When they try to piss on us, they bring no evidence for any of their claims. And NBC just reports it. It's maddening.
Yes, it is. It is. And it's their routine. They're going to see if it's going to work for them this election cycle. I think they're trying to flood the zone with this propaganda. We can't really see what's going on in this trial other than hearing from guys like you and from the rest of the...
I'll be here for 2 more days. There's so much to discuss.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I wanted to come back on that prosecutor issue because you walked us through who's there, and you've been there, and we've been watching. Yes. Today, we just went through a little bit of a story where there was, I think, a 15-minute direct exam of, I forget who the first witness was today. And my question was...
Erica Jensen from the FBI.
Yeah, that was the first witness. And then who was the first one, the first ex of Hunter who testified? Was that
Buell?
Buell.
Yeah, surname Buhle from Chicago originally.
Yeah, so Leo Weiss and David Weiss, or Leo Wise and David Weiss and these other prosecutors who are on it, they've been on this case for a long time, and we've watched them, in my opinion, try to make this all go away, right? The non-prosecution agreement was the first iteration, and there was some pushback on that. David Weiss wasn't special counsel, then he kind of was appointed special counsel, and so the whole thing was birthed, I think, out of a corrupt bargain and a corrupt deal. So now the idea that these prosecutors suddenly have flipped, and they're now like go-getter, hungry prosecutors who are going to go indict him and get him and bring him to justice, I just don't buy it. And I've seen many other prosecutions where often it happens when cops are on trial. So we had a situation in Arizona where Maricopa County prosecutors charged a cop with murder, essentially, for shooting somebody. Put on the weakest trial we've ever seen in the world against this cop who clearly murdered this dude. And he got off because it was kind of a thrown trial by the prosecutors. And so my question to you is, are you seeing that? Are you feeling that? What are your impressions on how they're performing? Has a flip gone off where they're suddenly irritated with Hunter now that he's shoved their plea deal back in their face? Or how is that looking from your perspective?
Well, I create gradations of evil. And I think that Weiss is much more responsible than Wise and Hines about the covering up and letting the statute of limitations pass. Why? Well, because after the whistleblowers came forward in May of 2023, Weiss then got Leo Wise and Derek Hines from two different AUSA offices, Hines from Philadelphia and Wise from Baltimore, and pulled them in. So they weren't involved in it. They got this case in late May of 2023. David Weiss, the son of the bribed IRS agent, is responsible for all of this, going back to 2018, and his ass isn't even up at the counsel's table. He's in the first row of the gallery. So in the gradations of evil, Weiss is up here, and Wise and Hines, their goal is to be able to hold up a trophy and say, hey, look, nobody's above the law in this country, when in fact they're picking a class of criminal activity that doesn't link to Joe, and one of the charges is unconstitutional.
Right.
Their company men. That's how I would describe him. Like Noreka is that strict older sister. I look at these guys as like corporate counsel for DuPont in the 1950s. They're both 6'6". They're both vanilla, and I consider Leo Wise to be the more. He also has a decade on him, so maybe in a decade Hines will be as talented. But and it's clearly Leo Wise is taking the more complex prosecution in LA. That's Wise's baby. Whereas Derek Hines is the lead prosecutor here for the lesser charge. And so I think that Weiss is the more contemptible character. Number one, he has no courage. He can't even look me in the eye. Because remember, MarcoPolo is the one that broke the story that his dad went to the federal pen for taking $200,000 in the 80s in bribe money. This guy's from a crime family. David Weiss is a coward. He let the most serious charges of tax evasion, money laundering, and FARA violations pass because it's 5 years. Well, tax evasion is 6, but for standard felonies in the U.S., it's 5 years. And it should be, right? Because we are a country where you're presumed innocent.
Yeah.
And the fact that Weiss, and by the way, he's only 71. Lowell is like 74 or 73, okay? The fact that Weiss isn't even getting off his ass and trying the cases. I hated that Durham didn't try Sussman. He farmed it out to the young guys. You're the special counsel. Get your ass up there.
Right.
Men reach a certain age at which they think they don't have to work hard anymore. I'm 70. I don't, but it's more pronounced than lawyers in the professional classes. But Weiss should be trying these cases. He's a special counsel, but he farmed it out to his senior assistant special counsels. I don't like any of them. The number one thing going against Leo Wise and Derek Hines is they're treating Alexander Smirnov as if he's guilty and he has to prove his innocence. They have him locked up in Los Angeles, waiting to go blind. I don't know if you've been following the docket entries, but
we haven't. But can you give us just a quick update on that? Because that's a separate case. So this is a separate.
Yes. So the special counsel's trying 3 cases right now: 2 against Hunter and 1 against Alexander Smirnov. 1 against Hunter in the Central District of California and 1 against Smirnov in the Central District of California. And then 1 here, as I stand here in Wilmington, Delaware, the District of Delaware. They have treated Alexander Smirnov horribly, and they got a really corrupt judge to put him in detention pending trial, and they got the trial kicked back past the election. And guess what? He's being held on false statement charges. It's one thing to have somebody detained pending trial when they're like Sam Bankman-Fried and ripped off people for billions and or shot somebody in the face.
And who is he? What's the background on this guy? And I think he's a bad witness for Hunter. Is that right?
Smirnov is the guy who they say lied on an FD-10, or basically lied to his handler about taking certain trips. But they haven't proven it. And he, of course, because it's not even... They haven't even had a pre-trial conference. They just had detention hearings. So why do I bring Smirnov up in all this? Back in February, so he's been in the clink for more than 3 months. He's going to go blind because he has glaucoma so bad. And the special counsel's office is opposing him going to San Francisco to get eye surgery and coming back to jail. So these people are crooks. The way I don't know how Hines and Wise can sleep at night. They're treating Alexander Smirnov horribly. And whatever justice with the lowercase j and whatever fraction of justice they achieve here in Delaware for 2 of the 3 charges, they are pissing down the drain with they're trying to both sides it like Rod Rosenstein, who, by the way, is a mentor to both Leo Wise and Derek Hines and Robert Hur. The only thing I agree with Margaret Wheeler on, who we call Empty Womb, the only thing we agree with her on is that Robert Hur, Derek Hines, Leo Wise, and Rod Rosenstein are a Baltimore mafia. They're a Baltimore legal mafia. And they're all buddies, and they're all milquetoast establishment scum Republicans. And so they want to hold up Smirnov's decapitated head on a pike and say, look, we prosecute both sides. Guess what? Even if Smirnov is guilty for what they allege he did, it doesn't even compare to what Hunter did. And Hunter didn't get pretrial detention. So Smirnov gets 2 false statements charges, 18-1001. You know this very well. And they're holding him. Sussman didn't get detained. Danchenko didn't get detained. This guy, by the way, he has no constituency. I was telling my friend this last night. This guy's getting pissed on. Nobody is talking about Smirnov rotting and going blind in an LA jail because he tried to cross the Bidens. And Weiss and Hines are doing that to him. So if you follow Marco Polo, you'll get the nuanced take in this is disgusting. Wise and Hines should let go of Smirnov pending trial. Let him not go blind. Remember, I posted this on my Telegram channel. 83% of Americans value their sight more than any other sense, and I'm a part of that 83%. I don't even care if I go deaf. I have to be able to see. They're going to literally make the dude go blind because he crossed the Bidens, and it's nothing more than David Weiss and his two stooges. I call them the limited hangout artists. It's nothing more than them wanting to appear impartial, that we go after Hunter, and then we go after the guy who dares to oppose Hunter and expose Biden criminality. It's disgusting.
That is such a good update. Okay, I don't know how much time you have, but I'm going
to go out to dinner here in about 10 minutes.
Okay.
I'm meeting somebody at 8. Yeah.
Amazing. Course. Yeah, I know you're busy, man. I really appreciate your time.
I want to do this on Friday. Again, if not Friday, at least hook up with me next week so we can talk about the verdict.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. We're so grateful for your time.
We get the trial transcripts. I'm going to get the trial transcripts because I finally met the court reporter today, and I said, you got to work with him, man. He quoted me at 435 for the day after, and I said, I run a small C3. Can you just knock it down to 100? $100 a day is reasonable. Right?
That's reasonable. That's reasonable.
435 a day is
crazy.
Dude, I'm not being a good fiduciary to my donors for paying 435 a day for jury selection. So I was like, Dale. His name's Dale Hawkins. He looks like he's somebody from my hometown. I said, Dale,
shout out to Dale. Come on, Dale.
Dale Hawkins. Remember, Technofog and all you guys were getting the transcripts every day for Danchenko and Sussman, and I wish we were getting for Hunter because I'd love to go through the transcripts with you. Right? That is your id. That's my id. That's why I like the program. But I'm not paying $435, man, even for Hunter.
Okay, yeah, maybe. All right, yeah, that's an interesting thought. Maybe we can crowdsource that somehow or figure out how to get those.
I got Dale waiting, man. He responds to my emails within 10 minutes. And I saw him today.
Maybe we can crowdsource that because those would be fun. That's we could figure out how to get.
I'd love to go through the transcript. The jury day was boring. Part of it's because I wrote the dossier, so I know most of the facts.
Yeah.
But the jury, meaning I know which questions the counsel are going to ask because I'm the nerd that went through the entire docket and saw the proposed jury questions. So if we were to crowdsource it, I would tell the donors to start at Tuesday. Do the last 2 days. You could get the transcript for Tuesday and Wednesday, and that would be worth it.
Okay, cool. So let's connect on that. And then maybe I'll just have, we'll figure that out and we'll get those. Cause that'll be good. I think we need those for the record, especially for the election. They'll be out for 90 days. I think after we'll get them for free, but I think we need them now. All right. So I know you got to run, man. I wanted to make sure just one more time. Can you give us an update on your personal, like your litigation? What's Marco Polo facing? Give us the quick rundown, and then let's remind people again where they can help you and support you, because without you, we don't have this dossier, we don't have this reporting, and the Biden crime family's not screaming at you, and we want them to know that the truth is coming out.
Like a normal person getting a drink from a water fountain is 5'1". She sort of resembles a blonde version of that woman on The Incredibles. She's like 5'1", that old mean woman on The Incredibles, sticking her finger at me. But thank you, first of all, for the kind words. This is our beat, right? We don't claim to know the most about. We didn't know the most about the Durham investigation. This is the thing we've studied most because it goes right to Joe. That's why we care.
Right.
Because this guy is over there in France representing the US of A. Can you believe it? My God, he can't even tie his shoes.
I know.
In fact, they've got him some Velcro shoes now and they've got him the shorter stairs. He doesn't go to he doesn't go on Air Force One in the front. They got to get him in the back.
I know.
He's like a high school girlfriend coming through your window at 11 p.m. He goes through the back of Air Force One, but when you have a slow day, I would ask you to go through the California docket for us on the program. There's 2 cases against us right now. We were sued in April of 2023 by the Sugar Brother, the guy that's given Hunter $10 million. People lowball the figure. It's $10 million now through the purchase of the art and the loans, $10 million. That guy sued us for intentional infliction of emotional distress in May of 2023. We won on one of the 5 causes of action, meaning he owes us legal fees. But pending, we're both appealing. We're appealing to the California Appellate Court in Sacramento to get the other 4 causes of action dismissed on anti-SLAPP grounds, meaning there's been no discovery, there's been no nothing. We said this is total BS. He's not, my friend who's not in MarcoPolo printed out the discovery request and had his dog crap on him, literally. So
Nice.
these discovery requests so Morris is suing us in the LA County Superior Court, Santa Monica District. We're appealing that right now. That alone has cost us, that whole process over 15 months has cost us $200,000. In September of 2023, Hunter, the smartest man the U.S. president knows, sued me personally and MarcoPolo, which is what Morris did, in the Central District of California, which is a federal court. Abby Lowell is on that case. That case has a docket entry on Court Listener because it's federal, right? And every entry has been downloaded. And there was an in-person hearing on that on May 16th. For 90 minutes with our attorney and Hunter's attorney, Paul Salvati. Lowell was out east. It was a hearing on our motion to dismiss with fees for prejudice. That's what we want, dismiss with prejudice for fees. And we're just going to get that transcript. So if there's one thing I'd ask you to go through, because the motions, the pleadings are all up online, and some of them are interesting, some of them aren't, to be objective. But the hearing transcript will be interesting on May 16th because remember, even the judge in our case who we filed for a motion for recusal, get this, Merchan gave 15 to Joey, right? $15 or 25.
Yeah.
Hernan Vera gave $2,000 to Joe in 2020.
Wow.
Joe appointed him 3 times. He gets denied twice. On the 3rd attempt, they finally got Hernan Vera through the Senate 52-46. 3 months after he gets put on the Central District website and he gets his investiture, he gets put on our case. The plaintiff's daddy appointed the judge in our case with the plaintiff. I mean, this is it's
lunacy, man.
It is lunacy. So, but guess what? I'm the young guy. I was the young staffer. There hasn't been, threads on this. James Lynch did a great piece of the Daily Caller before he went to National Review, but hardly anybody's been covering this. Hernan Vera, and guess what? Hernan Vera's ex-wife, the woman who he shares 2 children with, 2 daughters, both crazy leftist. She is the acting Secretary of Labor, Julie Sue, who remember, Julie Sue has been rejected twice by the U.S. Senate. Julie Sue was the Deputy Secretary of Labor, confirmed by the Senate by under Marty Walsh. Marty Walsh retires. Julie Sue, the acting current U.S. Secretary of Labor, a literal Chi-Com, born in California, a communist who has Chinese ancestry, a definition Chi-Com. She is the ex-wife of the judge in our case.
Wild.
So that recusal motion has been on Court Listener for months, but right-wing outlets don't want to cover it because we're the young guys in the room. But they don't get that it's not about me. If the relief they request, Robert, is to take our websites offline. They requested for our websites, meaning all the email databases online, all the photo database offline, our report taken offline, and they want all donations to our nonprofit to be given to Hunter. That's literally the relief they requested in federal court. The U.S. president's son, Winston and Strawn, like 5 people should be disbarred for being involved with our case. We're almost complete with a bar complaint in Maryland for Lowell. I would love to come on your program and talk about our bar complaint. We're going to have America First Legal signing on. We're going to have Rudy signing on. We're going to have Bob Costello, who I'm closer with. I talk to Costello much more than Rudy. Bob Costello is going to be signing on to our complaint with Lowell. It's going to be amazing. Because Lowell's barred in New York, D.C., and Maryland. And D.C. and New York are terrible bars. And Maryland is too, but they're the least terrible.
Yeah, you are welcome on here anytime, my man. We really appreciate all your work.
Thank you. FightBiden.org.
FightBiden.org. That, my friends, that's Garrett Ziegler. Garrett, I know you got to run, man. So
thank you very much for your time tonight. And we'll do another show after the verdict, and we'll work on the transcripts.
We will. Thank you so much for the time.
I'll be there tomorrow at 8 a.m. God bless.
All right, we'll see you. Thank you, Garrett. So that is Garrett Ziegler, my friends. MarcoPoloUSA.org, FightBiden.org. What a stream, man. That guy is just a phenom, as you can tell. So his knowledge is endless, and he's been doing the due diligence on the Biden crime family for a long time now. And as he explained to us today, seems like they're starting to crack a little bit. They are getting a little animated out there in the courtroom, sitting behind Hunter, shaking their heads, scolding, being upset every time new evidence comes out, and MarcoPolo is there reporting on it. So make sure you are following him, linking, retweeting him, reposting all of his stuff. His link is down in our description below, and we're very grateful that he's out there helping uncover all of this criminality, bringing the truth to us. So shout out to Garrett Ziegler. Now, my friends, I saw some questions, some donos, and some super chats come in, and I don't know. I think some of them are questions for Garrett, and of course he had to run for dinner, but we'll see what we can do the next time he's here to answer some of these questions. But my friends, thank you for joining us. We covered some good ground. Garrett Ziegler was here. We talked about the laptop that got admitted in as evidence, so that's part of the official record now. It's real, it's authentic. We already knew about it, and we learned a lot more about the prosecutors who were involved in this case, the Kevin Morris CIA connection. We learned about the jury and some of their reactions from them, which really seemed to be a little different than what the media was telling us. Seems like it's a little bit more muted from the jurors. They're not crying tears of sorrow because they're so petrified for Hunter. And Garrett Ziegler is under attack. Hunter's wife comes up and scolds him, screams at him as he's trying to get a sip of water to rehydrate. Scolds him. "What are you doing here, you little Nazi?" Garrett Ziegler, a gentleman and a scholar, doesn't respond and play at their level. So we're always grateful for his time. As you can tell, he's just a wealth of knowledge and a ton of fun to listen to. I could hear him riff on the Biden crime family for hours. We have here, in fact, we've done that. So shout out to Garrett Ziegler. Once again, please make sure you're following him and supporting him. You heard what he's going through, just a legal onslaught from the Biden crime family as he tries to bring us the truth. So we'll continue to support him. He'll be back here, no doubt about it. Now, my friends, let's hear from you. Thank you for joining us. And once again, thanks to Garrett. Let's see who's here. On the day, we have some comments and some donos that have come in. And let's see where these start. Little discombobulated at the moment because I'm processing all the brilliance. But here we are. Oh, here's a good question. Leanne has a question about Dr. Jill. I don't think she wore this to court, but maybe she should have. Who wore this better? From Leanne. Who wore this better? Did Jill Biden wear it better, or did E.T., extraterrestrial? Who wore it better? E.T. did. Definitely better looking alien than Jill. What's up, John W., our new supporter in the house. Welcome aboard, John. We did a great members only stream this morning. If you missed that, we had a tremendous members only stream. We did a bunch of segments this morning. It was a lot of fun. What's up? Hey, this one. Yes, Garrett mentioned this one in passing, but the Georgia Court of Appeals halts the Trump case. This cat got flagged for us by Sergeant GPS. And that's exactly right. There is not going to be a trial in Big Fanny's case before the election. Womp, womp, womp. Court of Appeals came out, said, well, if we're going to disqualify you, everything else has to stop. Why Judge McAfee didn't do that already is yet to be heard, but the case is done. And that largely means that it's probably not going to go anywhere after the appeal comes back down. So very good news. What's up? We had this one. The Epoch Times was reporting on that. Verna Hill. What's up, Verna H? New membo coming in. Verna Hill, welcome aboard as our newest supporter. Great to have you here. The Rubos, who are the purveyors of the best salt on the planet at rubossaltshop.com, they shared this on Locals. They said, breaking news from Wendy Patterson. Shout out to Wendy Patterson, who's another great follow on X. Says Judge Cannon, the only constitutional judge out of all the judges on Trump's cases, is going to hold a hearing on the constitutionality of Jack Smith's appointment as a special prosecutor. Says the requirements were never met. Joe Biden didn't nominate him, and the Senate never confirmed him. Yeah, and so Cannon, maybe we'll talk about some of this tomorrow, but Cannon is going to actually hold a hearing on it there, and she has witnesses coming in to testify. So it's going to be curious. Spuds is here. Rob, can you get Garrett to comment on Hunter's horrible Finger Lakes tattoo? I believe he did it to honor his real mom, Nelia, who was from Skinnyattalis, or however you say that city, which I never know how to say. So, yeah, he's got those weird, the lakes, I think from the Dakotas that are tattooed on his back. And I don't know what those mean. Maybe it's something innocent. Or wasn't there some hint that there were like kids go missing in those lakes or something? Something gross. Hey, Rob says, new Democrat Attorney General files felony charges against Trump's lawyers. Give me a break. Yeah, that's probably Mike Roman that we're talking about. The Supreme Court needs to stop this. Are they trying to create the felony to hang the New York 34 statute expired misdemeanors on? We'll see what SCOTUS does. I'm not sure they're going to intervene in any of it, but we'll see. Metal Gear Trucker, what's up? New supporter over on the YouTubes. Welcome aboard. Very nice to have you. Rob on Rumble says, we need to control the House, the Senate, and the executive. To stop this stuff, or the Dems are going to impeach Trump and try to stop everything Trump does like they were going during the presidency. Oh, they're in New York. The lakes are in New York. Finger Lakes in New York. My apologies. Not in the Dakotas. Yeah, so New York. Yeah, I don't know much about them, as you can tell, including where they're located. So thank you for that, Rob, and for the corrections, my friends. Hey, 11 months as a membo. Says, please ask Garrett about Midas Touch. God bless. Yeah, sorry we didn't get to these. I know we always have too much to talk about, I know. 11 months as a membo, almost a full year. Midas Touch, those are those weirdos that have that YouTube channel where they post like 15 videos about Trump every day. 15 a day. They're just all day. Trump, Trump, Trump. It's wild. This one from Tony Hay Munkets. What's up? Bringing in 10 new membos. We got Sub-Ohm Circus in the house. Another slave is here. Arc the Link, Sandy, Colorado. Lori G, True Seeker Human, Lady Stardust. We got Mega Mindy, Renwin Outcast, and Lisa G, all in the house, courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets. Hey, it's the Munkets. What's up? Sportfish is in the house. Says, if E. Jean Carroll can sue Trump for what he said, can Garrett sue Hunter's wife for the Nazi remark? Maybe. I don't know that he'll win anything or get any damages from that, but he could maybe be able to sue her. Is in the media. I'm not a Nazi. She called me a Nazi. I'm not a Nazi. The problem with suing people, the answer is you can kind of always sue anybody for virtually anything. Problem is you might lose, and it might cost you more to file the lawsuit and bring the claim than you'll actually win in damages. So legally, sure. Practically, no. I don't think he would. Maybe he will. We'll see. Annie H, what's up? Welcome aboard as a new supporter. Great to have you on the YouTubes. Stop the China fraud hustle. Says, it was nice to meet Garrett today. I got to say some nice words to the First Lady as she was leaving. Oh, you were there? You met Garrett? Tara Reid, I instantly got a warning from the Secret Service and was told no words in the courtroom. So Stop the China fraud hustle met Garrett today. Sounds awesome. Garrett's a cool dude. Good dude to meet. Sheila P, what's up? Bringing in new membos, 10 of them, including Pi Squared's coming in. Lisa T's coming here. We got Mile High Magic in the house. Eric K, Welshie's here. John D, Jamie S, Celsify's in the house. Austin B, and Randall W, gifted membos courtesy of Sheila P, bringing in new membos. What's up? Hey, it's the Munkets, bringing in 5 more. Miss James is here. Crota Cheese is in the house. We got Kevin A, Robert H, and Just John coming in as membos, courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets. We got Knox Bierman says, happy Wednesday, all. Always great to see our friend Garrett in the house. I always watch twice as there's always so much info. And that's like a fire hose to the face with him. I absolutely love it. I have all these questions written out, and then all of us, he's just like, all right, he just goes and answers them all. I'm like, all right, that's great. What else happened? It's so good. It's like a fire hose to the face, and it's just great. What's up? Twins Mama says, I literally see something new every time I open the book. I know, it's wild. The book, honestly, is just, you can't even explain it. You just have to get it and open it up and then show it to somebody and see the shock on their face. You say, no, you just say, no, this is the president's son. Yeah, Joe Biden's son. This is Hunter. This is him. No, this is all available before he got elected in 2020, and they covered it up. The CIA said it was all fake. Yeah, but you trust our government? Oh, that's fun. That's cute. That's a neat idea. Hey, what's up, Twins Mama? ELF says, in honor of our chat brother, Darren McNeil, who lost his girlfriend today. Oh my goodness. May God send his angels to wrap their wings of comfort around you. Our deepest condolences to you and your family. Prayers to the Darren McNeil family and everybody in the girlfriend's family who have lost someone way too soon, it sounds like. Always too soon. Terrible, terrible thing. So we're going to send our prayers and our love their way. And there's a great organization called ericshouse.org and other great organizations as well that help people who have gone through a tragic loss. And that might be useful during this time. But thank you for that, ELF. God bless you and your family. I'm sending hugs and love, says Don. What about me? Very nice tribute. Deep condolences. Sending them over. ELF, thank you. Darren, prayers to you, my friend. And we'll see you back here. Thanks for that. We got Jigam Geebgim says, can someone confirm whether this is legit or not? A legal defense fund for Mike Roman. Defend Mike Roman. Yeah, good question. I'm not sure. I would probably see what Mike Roman or what Ashley Merchant has said, maybe what they've linked to on their X accounts to see if they're linking back to that. But I'm not sure. Jigam, thanks for that. I think that's a good link, though. We should find the right one. Looks like it probably is right. There's already 70 grand raised over there, so it's probably official, but worth digging into. What's up? Rudd's in the house. Membo for 3 months says, thank you and your guest, Garrett Ziegler. Just the best. Great show. LGB. In the house. Thank you. 1/3 of the way to a baby, Rudd. Sheila P says, love Garrett. He is the living Encyclopedia Britannica of the Biden crime family. Absolutely. Yeah, I've been following him on Telegram for over a year. He's also on Telegram. He has a great Telegram account. I'm unfamiliar with him, but he's quickly becoming a favored patriot for me. 100%. He should be definitely in your favorite patriot list. 100%. Tahoe Blaze. Hey, Rob, found your channel last year. Been tuning in since then. Now someone gifted me a membership. Woo, thank you. Really enjoy your show. Thank you for that, Tahoe Blaze. I enjoy you being here. Thanks for being a membo, supporting us. It's been a heck of a year, and we're just getting warmed up, just getting started. Pinochet says, can you ask Garrett if he has a condensed timeline of important events? I have the report, but to explain to normies the laptop, the storage unit tip-off, the CIA visits, Weiss, papers, next to the vet, all that would be helpful. Yeah, I mean, I know he has, it's a great question, and the dossier is quite overwhelming. But I think this is his Substack, right? So they also have just various reports. So I would subscribe to the Substack, and that's where all of his little updates are, right? So if something pops up, you just send that little blurb to a friend and notify them about what's happening. So that's where I'd start. But here's one from Philip B. Says, Biden controlled DOJ appointments for 40 years. Yeah, now David Weiss and these prosecutors are going to come out like they are heroes fighting for justice. We don't buy it. Viva MAGA says, coins for the transcripts. Coins for the thank you for that, Viva MAGA. Yeah, I think we should be able to maybe buy 2 days worth for sure. I think we could probably muster that up. What's up? Hey, it's the Munkets in the house. Hey, it's the Munkets bringing in more membos. Mr. Potato, Mrs. Smoots here, Teresa M, A. Watson, Jewel of Aquarius, all in the house. Great to see you, Tony. Hey, Munkets, for bringing them in. Thanks for doing that. We got this one from ELF says, bringing in 5 new membos. Thanks, Elf. We got Marilyn S, Sketch Therapy, Mark B, Joni M, and Matthew F, all gifted membos, courtesy of ELF in the house. Jeffrey A, what's up? Flagging what happened in Georgia for us. Georgia Appeals Court stayed Big Fanny's case today. Not going to happen before the election. Fanny blown out. She's probably going to be drinking some Grey Goose tonight. Hey, Salty Sarge on Rumble says, Garrett is a tenacious warrior. Lawfare is the game, and the game is afoot. Great show, Rob. Thank you for that, Salty. It's a great guest. I can't take any credit for the show. It's just Garrett. It was awesome. What's up, Colorado Sarge? Welcome aboard, our newest supporter on the YouTubes. And Bruce Rice is here. Says 20 months as a membo. That's over 2 full babies, my friends. Oh my goodness. Starting on the 3rd. No pandering. Sink or swim. We are MAGA. No pandering. It's good advice. Let's stick to our principles and win. This one from Saintly Beginnings says, we must override the media's narrative and state the truth that we don't want revenge. We want to hold Dems to their own standards. We must override the media's narrative and state the truth that we don't want revenge. We want to hold the Dems to their own standards. Yeah, that sounds like a very adult thing I know where you're going with this, but honestly, I kind of want revenge. I kind of do. So I understand your point, though. You're a much better person than I am. I want revenge. What's up? Cliff is here. Says, if SCOTUS finds for Trump on immunity, what will the impact be on the 4 sham trials? This is a good question. Depends how they find on immunity. Depends how they codify it. If it's very, very broad and expansive, it might have the power to get rid of all of them and even reverse what happened in New York, let's say. If it involves conduct that Trump committed, they allege, while he was president, well, he signed all those Michael Cohen checks in 2017 when he was the president. So he would be immune from that. So depends if it's expansive or not. If it's narrow, maybe it goes back to Judge Chutkan for a hearing, an evidentiary hearing on whether immunity applies to certain acts or not. Maybe it's a narrow finding, so they find that Trump is not immune. Then that trial goes forward. So a lot will be revealed. That's why we're all kind of on pins and needles waiting for the ruling. We got this one from Crash. Says, Rob, here's a quote from Victor Davis Hanson's most recent book. He writes, the gullibility and indeed ignorance of contemporary leaders about the intent, hatred, and ruthlessness and capability of their enemies are not surprising given the unchanging human nature. We must not be those who are gullible and ignorant about the left. They have no moral compass at all. Their conscience seared with a hot iron. Yeah, I don't think we're playing in the same, it's a post-law society that we're entering into, where law doesn't really matter. The equal protection of the law, yeah, right. Due process of law, give me a break. Presumption of innocence, yeah, that was like 2020, okay? Give me a break. That's not happening anymore. None of that matters. It's about raw power. All you have to do is just get a jury to find in your favor. That's the game. Who cares? And that's their game. So if Republicans are playing like, well, we're just going to appeal it and someone's no, that's not what we're concerned about anymore. Now it's just a blood sport in law. Hey, Zulu's here, bringing in 10 new members. What's up, Zulu? Thanks for bringing in 10 new membos. Look who's coming in, my friends. Daisy D, Q Essence is here, and Mez is coming in. Cannibal's here. Oh no. Subscribe Butter, Damon D, Cynthia I, Jimmy P, Beth Amphetamines is here. Beth Amphetamines. Beth sounds like a lot of fun. And DM also in the house, all gifted membos courtesy of our friend Zulu. What's up, Zulu? Thanks for bringing him in here. We got Nate's Memes. Says, when will Hunter be charged for the CP found on his laptop? Oh, I'm sure all those expired. I'm sure they all are now gone. Of course, this one came in from J.R. Williams. Says, can Trump still deport with Biden-era work permits? Yeah, it's a good question. I think it will be whether or not there was already a right that was granted and established, and can Trump revoke that? So there will be lawsuits. I mean, if he tries to do something like that, he would. It depends. So if Biden grants them, let's say, hypothetically, some amnesty, and then Trump revoked that amnesty via executive order, there'd be lawsuits. They'd say they've already gotten a benefit from the government that's bestowed upon them, and now you can't take it away. That's a due process violation or something. So the answer is really, it depends. Who knows? We got Rob White says, that's what the FBI and the DOJ have been doing to people to get like J6 defendants to take guilty pleas. Attrition with higher charges and fines. Yeah, and you threaten them with a trial tax. If you don't take our plea deal and plead guilty, we're going to go on all these charges and we're going to request the max on all of them. Or we'll just give you this probation deal. You can take it and get out of custody. What do you like? What do you think you want to do? Knight of Knee says, I worked in law enforcement for the state of Delaware, and I saw firsthand Joe, Jill, and the team's things that would not surprise anyone. There's no way I could ever vote for Joe because of what I saw. Yeah, I mean, they've been covering up for this family for a very long time. And to see it firsthand, I mean, the FBI was trying to cover up this gun charge, quite frankly, and the DOJ was helping them. Now it's come out. What else did they cover up that we'll never know about? Knox is here, says, I literally clapped when I heard about the hearing on Jack Smith. Fabulous. Great stream, by the way, Robert. Thank you, Knox. Yeah, it's great. Every time Garrett's on, it's like, my gosh, it's just a overload of information. So good. Good to see you, Knox. Yeah, Jack Smith. He's going to be questioned about whether he's legitimate or not. Hey, this one is from this old guy. And where are those 51 intelligent officials? Today, most are in board positions or teaching at various colleges. Shameful. And where are those 51 intelligent officials today? Most are in board positions or teaching at various colleges. Yeah, they're not even sorry about it from this old guy. This one came in from member for 10 months from GSG McLovin. He says, LOL, what happened to the show? Used to be 2 hours. And we've been live right now, my clock says, for 1 hour and 54 minutes. I don't know. I guess I'm slipping. Sorry to jip you on those 6 minutes. Kimberly B, what's up? As a nice dono coming in from this. Is that a hippopotamus on that chair? Looks very comfy. What's up, Kimberly B? Thank you for the nice dono in the house with no comment. ELF is here, says smash that like button. Give us the thumbs up. Thank you for that, ELF. Dolphin fan is the man in the house bringing in 10 new membos. We've got Cygnus R coming in, courtesy of Dolphin. We got Joni M. Kim Smith is here. Melissa R. Mackenzie L. Michael P. We've got Jimmy W. Ryan H. Kimberly R. And the 8-bit writer all in the house, brought in courtesy of Dolphin fan is the man. Hey, Ray K's in the house. Hey, 28 months. That's 3 babies plus some. Oh my gosh. That's a lot of babies. What's up, Ray K? Rob in chat, continue to live in faith, hope, and love. Faith, hope, and love, man. Those are 3 good values right there. Faith, hope, and love. 28 months. That's why we have 3 babies together, because of those values. Values are very important. Here's 1 baby, and there's 2 babies, and 3 babies. Oh my gosh, 4 babies. Oh my gosh. Thank you for that gift. I think that came from Geegum Geegum, clipped over for us from Donut Mind Me on the day. And my friends, a day or 2 ago, we missed a couple of donos that came in. And so let's make sure we clear these up and say thank you for these. But we had a couple comments about sleep. We were talking about sleep on locals the other day. And someone asked how I sleep, if I sleep very well. And I said the answer is no. So these comments came in and they said, Rob, you need a MyPillow from Neurodivergent with promo code POSO. Who's Jack Posobiec? It sounds like a great promo code. Shout out to Jack. What's up? Knox says, sleep is my worst as well. I end up waking at like 3 a.m. often. I go for a walk, which sometimes helps. Yeah, sleep's not good for me. Of all the various facets in my life, my diet's pretty good. My exercise is pretty good. I think my mental health is fine. You guys might disagree. I don't know. Some people might watch this show and disagree with that. But I think everything's pretty good. Sleep could be a little better for sure. No doubt about it. So we're trying to figure that out. NY says, lack of exposure to daylight's a problem. LED lights have almost no infrared. Try 30 minutes of outside light or change your bulbs. It's not just red. It's the infrared spectrum. Also says, this is what we were talking about at an after party. Says infrared light via LED lights helps inflammatory conditions. I work at night, so it's very important I have good sleep. Picked up the infrared light tip during a pandemic, and it really helps. And Y says also get some tart cherry supplements instead of Aleve. As a nephrologist, I see patients later in life who take chronic NSAIDs. Tart cherry is an anti-inflammatory that might be better on some of your other organs. And Londo says, if you're trying to rebuild your hips and back and core because you've got some lower back pain, try to lift stuff that is slightly too heavy every 2 days. You must tear a muscle down to grow it back stronger. Yeah, I think that's true. I think good exercise is helpful. So for me, it's been about trying to manage some lower back pain. I had a wrestling injury that is a lifelong issue, but I'm strengthening my core and I'm trying to increase the strength there so we have better sleep. That's what we're talking about on locals. XRP Panic on YouTube says, surprising how the Biden administration hasn't come out yet, canceling the debates, claiming that Tombstone Biden won't debate with a convicted felon. Yeah, we'll see if that happens, or maybe they'll put him in jail. So Joe Biden can walk out and be like, well, where's my opponent at? You put him in prison, psycho. Well, he's not here. So I guess I'll just go on my speech or something. Who knows? I still think they're waiting for Biden to just faceplant. They're waiting for him to walk out, just faceplant. then they have no option but to replace him. So what's up, XRP Panic? Thank you for sending that one in. And we appreciate those. I see some good comments about making some real babies over there. I don't know about that. I don't know. So what's going on? Let's see who's on X before we wrap it up and go over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members only after party. Hey, what's up? Christina Hilton is in the house. Says, it's nuts, our corruption in our courts. It's just sick. They got 150 subpoenas. I got here late. We'll be binge watching you later tonight. Thanks for the work. And Christina has 7 ruby red grapefruit seedlings. Just amazing. Avocado, 2 gingers. Wait, you all inspired me to try a little food sovereignty. Sounds like you know what you're doing. I'm still working on mine. My little seedlings over there are struggling, but we're working on it. Hey, Fred's here. Hey, look at this real good boy. Look at this real good boy with the report on the Biden laptop from a real good boy called Johnny in the house. Johnny and I love our book. It's a great book. Great book. Lots of knowledge in there. Yeah, Smirnov was an FBI informant. Oh, here's another one. Who wore this outfit better? What do you think? Which one's better? The cup of tea or Jill? The cup of tea. Definitely the cup of tea. What's up, Diane? Salty Sarge says Garrett was on fire today. Garrett's he's just the man. All right. And so those came over from X, and we're grateful to our friends on X. But that, my friends, is going to be it for us on the day. We are going over to 2 hours right there for GSM. 2 hours. We just hit it. You're welcome, GSM. Hey, watchingthewatchers.locals.com is where we're going now for our members only after party. We're looking forward to seeing you come over there and join us. And that is also where we do members only streams in the morning and on Saturdays. So it's a lot of fun. Come check it out. RobertGovea.com if you want to go through PDFs, and WatcherLodge.com if you want to sign up and come grab a ticket for our meetup in Las Vegas. WatcherLodge.com. It's going to be great. We're going to have a nice meetup with our friends, and we'd love to have you come and join us. So come see us over there. Before we wrap it up, I want to thank all of our amazing mods and our meme smiths who keep things nice and orderly around here. Our friends K Bean in the house. We got Just Cause, Playing Hooky, Ronnie Cole, our friend Zach Nichols, Janek, Dog Digger, Economy Pilot, Donut Mind Me, Carrie B, Zulu is here, Sleepy Dog Lee, Nathan NA10, Geegum Geegum, Glocky McLock, and Elliot as our Dockmaster, all in the house, keeping things nice and orderly. But that, my friends, is it for us on the day. We are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We hope to see you there. But if not, well, we'll miss you. But the truth is, we're going to be back here tomorrow to get into it again. And in order to do that, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. See you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.